It's been 48 hours since close to 9,000 pages from the CIA cyber spying playbook revealed all kinds of holes in our laptops and smartphones. The documents flooded the internet. Silence until today when that guy, the WikiLeaks founder, Julian Assange, surfaced saying he's the one who put it all out there and that the CIA has lost control of its entire weapons arsenal. But then there's this. Assange now says he plans on helping the tech companies protect their devices. Listen.
Hearing these calls from some of the manufacturers, we have decided to work with them to give them some exclusive access to the additional technical details we have so that fixes can be developed and pushed out so people can be secured.
How sweet of him. Is Assange suddenly becoming an angel of assistance by offering to do what some say the CIA should have done from the start, and that's warn companies about their own vulnerabilities? Let's bring in two white hat hackers. They get paid to expose lapses in security at firms across the country. HackerOne co-founder and CTO Alex Rice and Trusted Sec founder and CEO David Kennedy. Welcome to both of you. Alex, I'll begin with you. And before we get to whether the CIA should have notified these companies, is Julian Assange bluffing, or is he to be trusted?
These tech companies are defending against attacks every day, and it's a battle that most of them have been losing. And so they need every advantage they can get. They absolutely should receive and analyze this information, independently verify all of it. It is a positive step, no matter what the motivations behind WikiLeaks might be.
But David, Assange is saying that he is willing to extend a hand and help them. Boy, is that the devil in angel's clothes? I'm just wondering.
Well, we've seen previous WikiLeaks before where that hasn't been the case, where they've exposed a lot of data that was very damaging. And there's two components to what was released. There's the documents and the playbooks, but there's also code and techniques that the CIA actively use in order to go after different government agencies. And that's really damaging both to the intelligence operations that we perform abroad, as well as puts the United States in harm's way against adversaries that we're actively doing campaigns against against these. So we have to have these trades of craft. We should definitely be hoarding these exploits and keeping them for going after these different countries for what the types of technology that they're using, because the same thing's happening to us. Russia, China, they all have the same capabilities. It's the next arms race, right?
Okay, so what next, Alex? And you've had a chance, I'm sure, to at least scrutinize some of what was released, some of these 9,000 pages. What does it look like to you?
Much of it is novel techniques and attacks that we've known about for a long time. Some of it is new and undisclosed techniques, but the really incredible part of it is how much of it is aggregated together into one centralized playbook.
The Weeping Angel program, that's where the spies could spy through your Samsung smart TV. The Brutal Kangaroo program, that affects Windows. And then, it goes on. You've got the Apple situation, Happy Eagle. So go on, all of these, it makes everybody want to duct tape over the mini cameras and the microphones.
Right. It shouldn't be news to anybody that there are vulnerabilities in those devices. There has been research for years that has demonstrated various flaws in Samsung smart TVs. I still have one sitting in my bedroom, and it's helpful for consumers to demand from these companies and our government that they are patched and up to date and protected against all types of adversaries out there. And we would hope that the government would be on our side during that part, and rather than leaving known holes open.
Well, David, to you, you worked in the government, you were at the NSA. Do you look at the CIA and say, how could you guys have sat on this and not contacted Samsung, not contacted, well, maybe not Samsung as a Korean company, but certainly Apple?
Listen, being from that side of the house, we need specific ability to go into other governments, go into other adversaries, track terrorists, actually go after physical bad people. And in order to do that, we have to have exploits and weapons to go and do that. I fully agree with Alex from the extent that in the event that one of those exploits were discovered by an adversary, let's just say we're trying to hack into Russia and getting to the Kremlin, if they discover that, we should absolutely disclose that, which we don't do currently to the manufacturers. But we need those weapons in order to even have an equal playing ground. Right now, you know, it's an equal playing ground for us. We don't have any military advantage whatsoever in the cyber front. I mean, Iran, North Korea, China, Russia, they're all building these capabilities. In order for us to even compete on the same level as they do, we have to have these types of weapons.
I know this sounds crazy, guys, but in my hand is an ancient BlackBerry, okay? Now, when Sony got hacked way back in the day, a couple of years ago, after that movie, and the South Koreans had hacked, they went down into their basement and they distributed old BlackBerries. I mean, this thing is so old it has pistons in it, I'm sure, but I don't even have the charger that fits it. But is there any device, Alex, that you trust and is safe?
As consumers and regular business users, most of us are not being targeted by these tip-of-the-spear CIA spy attacks. On the most part, we should be using two-factor authentication, a password manager, keep all your devices up to date. Okay. And if there are old devices that are no longer getting updates and haven't seen active security investments in quite some time, you would do well to get rid of them. Hiding behind obscurity of those devices isn't a long-term viable tactic.
Alex, David, thank you very much. And folks, if you're out there and you've got companies, call these guys. They'll find holes in your systems. And if anybody has a charger for this old BlackBerry.
I got one. I'll send one over to you, Liz.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, David.
In an exclusive interview with Fox News' Sean Hannity, he was asking WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange about the source of his leaks in the dump during the height of the election season.
Can you tell the American people 1,000% you did not get it from Russia or anybody associated with Russia?
We can say, we have said repeatedly over the last 2 months that our source is not the Russian government and it is not a state party.
All right, that, of course, part one of Sean's interview with Julian Assange, and it airs tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern on Hannity on the Fox News channel. All right, the party panel is back to discuss Kirsten Hegland, Andy Levy, and Lachlan Markay. So what do you think of Assange's comment that you really shouldn't believe the hype?
You know, as someone who published a lot based on the Podesta emails that they leaked, I do not trust a word that Julian Assange says. I tried to judge the content on its merits and whether I thought that that was authentic. But
did you think it was all authentic?
Yes, the Podesta emails I did. I thought there was enough corroboration, and I think they would have denied it so immediately if any of it had been fake.
Yeah.
But Julian Assange is explicitly anti-American in his views. He has stated that his goal is to render the U.S. government, which he calls an authoritarian conspiracy, completely inoperable by making internal communication impossible.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think his motives on their own, especially for folks on the right, you know, we should really be, at the very least, wary, and at most, you know, just don't believe a word he says.
Yeah, because you have to know he's got some opposition research on the other side.
How could he even know if he was getting this information? I mean, the person is not going to say, hi, I'm from the Russian government. Here are John Podesta's emails.
Hello, I work for DNC. Nothing to see here.
It's the idea that he would even, you know, have any idea just beggars belief.
All right, but I also don't believe the president. I don't take him at face value when he talks about all the security agencies have said it's just Russians hacking, because I think, and I've said this on the air a bunch of times, I think our cybersecurity sucks, especially at the federal level, and I think everyone wants to get into it.
Yeah, look, I've been saying since this whole Russia hacked the election thing started, which, by the way, is the dumbest phrase in the world, but until we see evidence, and by we I mean the American people, of what exactly Russia did or didn't do,
that's what I want to know, like, what did they do?
Right.
What did they do? And okay, let's say that Hillary Clinton's email investigation never happened. Would the Podesta emails have been enough to sink her? And also, with the revelations we had from the emails that were lawfully released versus the Podesta emails, do you think people can reasonably separate the two and the content of the two?
Well, the thing is, I don't think there was anything in the Podesta emails that the ordinary American person really cared about. It was mostly it was fun inside politics stuff for us to talk about and whatever. But I think that alone, that wasn't even close to being, I don't even think it was a medium-sized factor in the election. That said, I agree with Lachlan. I don't believe a word Assange says.
Yeah.
Again, absent evidence. Also, he could be telling the truth in the sense that the person who gave it to him may not be related to Russia, because Russia could have given it to that person to give to Assange.
But we also don't know the relationship between hackers and the Russian government.
Right, because there are so many different hacking organizations, that some that we know about, some that we have absolutely no idea. I remember Guccifer, he was, maybe working by himself, maybe working with others. There's just so much that you don't know. Also, politics makes strange bedfellows. It's so fascinating now that some members of the Trump administration or Trump supporters are willing to look at Julian Assange as this beacon of light and truth, when just a few years ago, before he was endangering American lives, right, because they were releasing the names of these people, special ops, et cetera. So you just have to be really, really careful and make sure that the intelligence doesn't get politicized. Right now, that seems to be happening. CIA, FBI going against one another, then the Obama administration saying something else. We need to make sure this isn't politicized if we're going to keep, especially cybersecurity, a top priority.
The feud between the president-elect and the press is heating up. Donald Trump blasting the media for saying that he agrees with WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Trump tweeting, quote, "The dishonest media likes saying that I am in agreement with Julian Assange. Wrong. I simply state what he states. It is for the people to make up their own minds as the truth. The media lies to make it look like I am against, quote, intelligence, when in fact I'm a big fan." Here now is Howard Kurtz, host of Media Buzz and Fox News media analyst. I mean, one of the problems in that tweet is he puts intelligence in quotes, which makes it seem like he's being sarcastic. He's saying intelligence, wink, wink. I don't know. I mean, cut through some of this for me, Howard. What's your take?
Sure. Well, first of all, the president-elect has made a whole political career out of bashing the dishonest press, and he has every right to do that. I do think it is fair, as news stories have pointed out, to look at the unusual spectacle, shall we say, of the incoming president appearing to tweet and retweet favorably the comments of a guy, Julian Assange of WikiLeaks, who is on the run from sexual assault allegations, and in the past has been criticized by many conservatives, including Trump, by the way, for endangering U.S. national security by disclosing classified information. Now, Trump didn't, endorse Assange, but he did sort of echo some of his arguments, saying that the Russians were not behind this, and of course he's been very skeptical toward the CIA.
Let me bring that one up, okay, because he said Julian Assange said, quote, "A 14-year-old could have hacked Podesta. Why was the DNC so careless?" Also said, "Russians did not give him the info!" Exclamation point. Well, I watched that exchange back and forth that he had with Sean Hannity, and what he said was, he didn't receive the information directly from a senior Russian official or from the government. I mean, there were a lot of ways, the statement that he made, there were a lot of ways to drive through it. I mean, it could have been, somebody brought it to me, there was a middleman, I mean, it just, and he says, didn't get it from the Russians, exclamation point, like he said the Russians had nothing to do with it. I mean, he's not really clean on that one.
Of course there could have been a middleman. And look, Donald Trump is trying, he views this as an attempt by Democrats and liberals to use this whole question of Russian hacking, although everybody knows it didn't tip the election, it certainly was damaging to the Democrats, to undermine the legitimacy of his presidency. So if he finds people who agree with him, in this case, Julian Assange, he's going to seize on that. And he has this knack, as you know, for turning it back on the press. Either he doesn't like the coverage of the way this whole matter has been handled by the media, or the media are very convenient foil for him to score some points, or both.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so the president-elect has no plans to stop tweeting, though. We know that. Incoming White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer defending Donald Trump's use of Twitter. Take a listen.
I think there's this misconception, or there's this implication that he's just randomly tweeting. I think that
you think he's talking to people?
No, of course he is. He gets briefed. We make suggestions, but he knows exactly where he wants to end up on a particular subject or outcome.
Does that give you a little heartburn?
I think one of the things that people, when people talk about Twitter and the president-elect, his use of it,
he's going to keep doing it, right?
Of course he's going to keep doing it.
So, Howard, he's trying to paint this picture that it's well thought out, that they sit there and they talk about it and they know what subject he's going to tweet on, he's briefed, and then he kind of goes into a dark room and tweets. Like, it's clear that he's doing it on his own and they're not controlling it, they don't necessarily know what's going to happen, but they're trying to say it's not off the cuff. What do you think?
Well, in some cases, that might be true. In other cases, you can tell that Donald Trump is just reacting to something he saw on CNN and he's ripping, or, you know, I don't happen to think that 140 characters is the best forum for discussing American nuclear arsenal. But look, this whole debate about should we cover the tweets and what if the tweets aren't exactly right is ridiculous. If we went live to a Donald Trump statement or chatting with reporters, of course we put it on the air live, and then you dissect it and you analyze it and you also fact check it. So I think he has an instrument here, 18 million followers, that works very well for him, and I think the press needs to get used to it, whether journalists think that this is a proper way to conduct diplomacy, foreign policy, and domestic affairs. Doesn't matter. He won the election. We didn't.
It does matter, actually, because the more it annoys the press, the more he's going to do it. So it does matter. The more they go, the more he's like, all right, now I'm going to tweet again. Howard, anyway, thank you. We love to see you here, but we also love to tune into Media Buzz on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern on Fox News Channel and get even more Howie.